Okay, so the video you're about to watch is actually part 2, or the second part of a video that used to be one part. The reason it's in 2 parts is because the video would have been way too long, close to like 30 or 45 minutes, and no one wants to watch a 30 or 45 minute long video about me going through a beat up Lexus X stance car and trying to turn it into a daily driver. So, what I did is I split it into 2 different parts. The first part is me doing little things, like when I first bought the car, diagnosing all the little sounds that caused the car to be kind of sketchy to drive, but also scared the crap out of me, but also not that much work to fix. This part that you're about to watch is going to be kind of more labor intensive. It's me replacing the valve cover gaskets, painting the valve covers, replacing the intake manifold gasket or plenum gasket, whatever the one that's on top that crosses over on top of the valve covers. Replacing the spark plugs, the ignition coils, soldering the ignition coils and ignition leads. So, a lot of work, but necessary to get this car to run correctly. That being said, this is a video that was split up and recorded over the course of months. So you'll see bits in here from Christmas, you'll see bits in here from New Year's, you'll see bits in here from, I think, maybe even Thanksgiving or whenever I bought this car. Like, this video is so spread out that I was literally freezing my hands off on Christmas Eve working on this car. And same thing on New Year's. My hands were literally getting so cold working on this car that, like, I had to stop after a few minutes, go inside, heat up my hands, and come back out and keep working. And the reason it's all condensed together is I was kind of putting it off in terms of editing it because it was kind of a little emotionally draining to edit all of it, because a lot of personal stuff happened between the time that I bought the car and I got it running that kind of just messed me up. And yeah, so basically here's a video that's been about 4 months delayed because Crazy Motor Master needed some mental health breaks. But now the car is running and I am able to drive it. I have put some wheels on it. I have done a really nice exhaust setup, which I love. And I think I'm the only Is300 in Vegas running quad tips now. And I'm like one of 20 Lexuses running add-on 10 or DS1s at 10.5 inch width. So I'll put videos of that stuff later on. Like and subscribe for that. But yeah, here's the video of my $2,500, lots of stuff wrong with, and lots of stuff still wrong with Lexus. And I'll probably post the videos of me doing the O2 sensors and swapping out wheel bearings, which I think are going bad, and like a million other things later. But for now, here's this video. Enjoy, and hopefully you found it informative and can use something out of it. Okay, so step 1 is going to be take the intake kind of off. Oh, this is rather loose actually. Oh boy, is now getting worried. So my car has no bolts holding any of this stuff on, so I'm just going to take this hose off. The whole thing should come out after I unplug this thing right here. Looks to be my map sensor. Hold on, let me get that out. Okay, so next step, I gotta take the throttle body off. To do that, I gotta unplug every single connector that's hooked onto it. So there's this, and one back here, and then I'm just gonna lift it up and keep it over there. Okay, so there's supposed to be a bracket that holds the throttle body on right there, to here to here. That's supposed to be the two 12mm or 4 12mm bolts that hold it on. As you can tell, I do not have that, and I also have a leaky valve cover gasket. I'm just gonna take this one off right here, pop a flathead screwdriver in there so I can move this wire out the way. Then the throttle body should just be held on by a couple bolts. This is a little unnerving to see how badly this car has been put together. So next I'm going to be pulling off this hose right here. Okay, so there's a bracket right back here behind the throttle cable. That one's going to be two 10mm bolts, just right here, and there's going to be another one right over here. That should take this bracket off, and then it should be pretty well loose. Okay, now to get this thing out, you just slide out the throttle cable just like that. So there's that gone off and out of the way. So these 2 bolts on the top are going to be 12mm right here. There's one more right down here. It's just a little nut that comes out. Now, from what I've seen, it should just slide right out. Okay, so I'm going to start pulling the coils out. Now there's 3 ignition coils and 3 spark plug wires to run all 6 cylinders, which is the first I've seen that kind of a setup, but that is 2 days life. Okay, so let's pull this ignition coil off in the front right here. So there's a spark plug up here in the front. But that one seems to go to the back. Yeah, that one seems to go to the ignition coil in the back right there. The front ignition coil is going to the 4th cylinder maybe right here. So just like that. And that wire just fell apart. Great. Okay, so that's gonna be a problem. So the front one goes midway back. Okay, so this is the second ignition coil. So this second ignition coil goes to spark plug number 3 and 4. Then the first ignition coil went to spark plugs it's number 2 and number 5. It's going to be extension 10mm socket in here. Oh, whoops. So that's out of the way now. Look at this guy. Okay, so now on the back of this thing, this little tab right here, we'll push down and pull this out right here. Okay, so I have the extension going into here and to the socket right over there. So hopefully that should do it. Oh, and another vacuum line on the bottom. Okay. Also, there's a screw inside this valve. I think that's not supposed to be there. Amazing! Somehow this car, like, I think, like, oh no, there's nothing worse that this guy could have done to work on his own car. Then I get into it, and there's more terribly done stuff. It's fucking mind-blowing. That is actually fucking mind-blowing. So one thing that's kind of blowing me away is if you look in here, you can see that's the before shot of everything. See just how much oil is in these galleries and stuff. I'm gonna clean that out and take these off and replace them and paint, or replace the gaskets and paint them. Look, I don't even, what are these? Oh, these are the parts to the coil. Wait a second. Could this be why I have a misfire? This first coil pack connector just is worthless. So I found one possible cause for a misfire. We got a broken connector, and here's the bits of plastic that are inside. I'll be fixing that because I have the new connectors coming in tomorrow. I'll be replacing spark plugs, replacing coils, replacing ignition leads, placing a valve cover gasket, and painting it. So overall, with all that stuff done, it should run correctly. I'm hoping, otherwise there's something else wrong with this car. Oh, there's a valve cover bolt missing for the gasket. So one of the valve cover bolts is missing. That's probably why it's leaking. Okay, so now I'm going to start taking off the valve cover. And I've decided something, right? This car's previous name was Android 18. Honestly, this car needs a whole new name in life because this is pretty bad. Please don't tell me that's true. Let's see what is missing to building it. What the fuck? This should not be this tight. And I'm going to be repainting these valve covers because they look like trash to hot pink, because why not? These are only supposed to be tightened down like 76 or some inch pounds. This is definitely more than 76 inch pounds. So that one's not as oily. No, that zip tie wasn't strong at all. Okay, there's that. There's the flattened valve cover, and there's a piece of tape on here. I don't know if you saw that, but that could have been one of the leaks. Okay, now for this side. Fuck me. So the bolt that I thought was missing is snapped off in the engine. Great! Great. So I am a little confused as to what to do now because that complicates things great. A missing bolt is irritating, but not that bad. A bolt that's been snapped off in the head of the motor, I don't know how to deal with that. I'm going to have to get creative. The title of this video should be Never Buy a Car from a Stance Boy. Further and further I tear this thing down, the more worried I get. Okay, so all the bolts are out. Let's see if there's anything I should know about this camshaft cover. Alright. You know, fairly easily. Okay, so this valve, this gasket's not that flattened. So I'm guessing what's happened is they over-tightened the shit out of the first valve cover gasket, broke the nut off of it, or the bolt in it, and then they didn't tighten this one that much. And look, you can see right here it's kinked up. So yeah, overall, very shitty job. So now I am off to figure out how I'm going to fix this, because I do not know how to get that bolt out at this particular moment in time. Okay, so I'm about to do the most nerve-wracking thing I've done in my whole automotive career, and that is try to extract that broken off nut using a Harbor Freight screw extractor kit on the engine block of an engine that I've wanted since I was a child, because I saw Fast and the Furious. Okay, something really fucking crazy just happened. So I tried to drill it out with this extractor tool. Extractor tool kept slipping, drill bit wouldn't go in. So I'm like, might as well use a plier. Why not? I got nothing else to lose. So I put a plier on there and it's starting to turn. I think. Or it's in my head. I'm not too sure. Oh my god, it's turning. It's turning, it's turning, it's turning, it's turning, it's turning, it's turning. It's turning and I'm not crazy. It's turning and I'm not crazy. It's turning. Oh my god, I got the screw out. I got the screw out. I'm getting the screw out. I'm getting the screw out. Oh my god. I'm getting the screw out. Oh my god. Oh my god. I was so worried about this. Wow. That's amazing. Oh my god. Look at that. That's out. That is out. Yo boy! Okay, so now that the bolt situation is solved, I'm going to take these two inside and clean them up, and tomorrow they should be painted. I might clean it up and put the paint stripper on tonight and let it sit overnight just to get all this oil off of it, and start painting it tomorrow. Hopefully the pigtails for the wiring harness should be in by tomorrow, and then I can just put this car back to, I had to go to the junkyard and get another bolt. But I'm just happy it came out so easily. So I've spent what feels like at least an hour cleaning up these valve covers, and they're still kind of rough. I don't know if that's the actual paint being stained or just the oil has been on there for so long. So I'm going to strip the paint off this thing and come back in about 30 minutes, and hopefully paint's all gone. I can just blast it with a pressure washer and throw some primer on it. So the can said works in 30 minutes. It's been 30 minutes and it hasn't really worked. None of the paint has come off. So I'm not too sure maybe I should put some more on it. So I just realized that this thing might not be painted. I was really kind of hoping that taking the paint off would get rid of all the oil that's left on here, so guess that's not gonna happen. I'll just have to pressure wash it and call it a day. Okay, so that's 3 coats of color, which is pink, followed by, well, first 3 coats of primer, then 3 coats of color, and then I'm gonna let this dry for about 45 minutes, and then hit it with some whatchamacallit, clear coat in about 45 minutes. Doesn't look too bad. Okay, so now I got the valve cover or the gasket off. The valve cover is painted. I'm going to clean the inside of the actual channel, then put the new gasket in, and put a little bit of black RTV right around there where it butts up against the little areas, and then put the thing back in. Hopefully it should be done pretty soon. And yes, it is very cold outside, and I'm still doing this. It's Christmas Eve actually. Okay, so I'm going to try and take out this little wiring cable routing thing, right? There's one bolt right there, and then there's another bolt right back there. And hopefully if I can get this out, it'll make a little bit more clearance for me to slide the valve cover in without chipping the paint. Because I put way too much effort on that paint. Okay, so the valve cover, gaskets, the RTV, all that is in, and I got to admit, the pink actually looks really mint. Like, oh my god. I can't get over how sick this looks. I'll put the bolts in, then I'm going to do the PCV valve, pull that out, and clean the intake manifold and pop it all back in. Oh, forgot to do spark plugs. I got to do the spark plugs too. And then sort out this wire, which is every broken ignition coil wire on this thing. Once that's sorted out, pop the ignition coils back in, use spark plugs in, and then go from there. Dude, it pops so much. It looks sick. Okay, so now for this part, I don't really know what these are. My car didn't have them when I took the valve covers off, so I'm not, but then again, the way this car's been put together, I can't really say that for absolute certainty is the correct thing, but I think they go on top or in between the valve cover bolt and the valve cover. I'm just gonna put them on anyway because I'm not too sure, and I mean, what harm could these do anyway? So I'm just gonna put them on every single valve cover bolt just to get a proper seal and such, and they fit well, and I'll just torque them down to the right PSI or foot-pound marking, and I guess that'll be right. Okay, so now I'm going to be torquing down the valve cover bolts. I'm going to start from the inside and work my way out, and it's going to be sitting at about 75 inch-pounds. So I'm using a universal bit on the end of my torque wrench. I know you're not supposed to do that, but it's the only way you can actually get to these bolts back here because of the engine clearance thing, the whole 2JZ life. For those who don't know, 2JZs are set really far back into the engine bay because it's a long and rather narrow engine. Okay, so valve covers are officially torqued and in. Okay, so the valve cover, gaskets, the RTV, all that is in, and I got to admit, the pink actually looks really fucking mint. Like, oh my god. I can't get over how sick this looks. Oh, forgot to do spark plugs. I got to do the spark plugs too. And then sort out this wire, which is every broken ignition coil wire on this thing. Once that's sorted out, pop the ignition coils back in, use spark plugs in, and then go from there. Dude, it pops so much. It looks sick. Okay, so now that everything is torqued in correctly, the spark plugs, valve covers, all that stuff, next step is to put in these new ignition coils. They should be going right about here, here, and there. And then the wiring the spark plug wires might be a little bit more complicated. But one thing I do appreciate is that these ignition coils came with some lube or some spark plug, I don't know, dilithium grease or whatever it is. Point being, that's awesome. I'm going to pop that in there. Even came with a little booklet, ignition coils, warranty claim, that's awesome. So that's going to be easy enough. Pop some lube on them, pop them in, put a bolt through them, call it a day. Okay, so now I'm in the process of putting the spark plugs, or the spark plug wires in. So from what I can tell, the one in the very back goes to the very front. The one in the middle goes to the one in front of the last coil. And then the first coil goes to back, goes to front, front goes to back, and the middle goes to middle. Okay, there we go. So what I have here are the NGK plugs, back going to front, now to find the middle, or this one going to this one right here. So this to here, and this to here. Okay, so I've pretty much gotten everything else in. Spark plug wires are in, coils are in. All I need to do now is basically remove these old broken ends and replace the leads, because as you can see, that is destroyed That's not so good, but the plugs or the little clip things are missing there and there and there. So once those are replaced, then I'm gonna put them back in. Just gonna cut them off, solder on the new ones, and hopefully I'll be good to go. Okay, that's one done. Now I just need to do that 6 more times. Okay, the connectors are in our heat shrunk. They're all in place. Hopefully I did them right. And I'm going to put some conduit over these and put some electrical tape over them. Okay, so I put the wires in, but like it looks like there's a little bit too much wire and not enough space to run the wire. Namely because right here is a bit long, here's a bit long, here's a bit long. But I mean, at least they're there. So I'm going to take this gasket off and start putting on the intake manifold and stuff. And hopefully get this thing running by tonight. Just got to be really careful to make sure I hook up everything. Because there's a ton of little vacuum lines and stuff that I'm probably going to forget. I'm trying to avoid forgetting anything. There it is right here. Felpro from Japan. Because everything is better in Japan. So I'm being very careful to go through and double check and make sure I hook everything up. I did drop a couple bolts and I don't think they hit the ground, so I'm going to hope those bolts aren't going to be necessary. But the ones for the intake manifold and all those bolts are in. It was just like 2 little nuts that hold in some wiring or some wire routing guide or whatever. So those came out. But yeah, next is the throttle body gasket bushing, whatever the hell that is. Then once that's on, I'm going to put the throttle body on. Double check all the coolant lines, reconnect the throttle cable, and then the intake plenum, which is held in by 1 bolt, and the PCV, whatever that is, and all kinds of other stuff. I'm going to see if I can get some more coolant in this car before I get going too. I'm trying to finish it in time for a meet. Okay, so yeah, 3 bolts here, and then I'm going to be really careful not to like scratch this up because I really don't want to mess up the paint when I put the throttle body on here. This is the one thing that really sucks. I've already scratched it up and chipped it in a couple places. I'll be honest, valve cover paint's not that strong. I don't get how everyone has perfect looking valve covers, and mine, every time I paint it, gets messed up. The thing I am willing to admit is I am rushing a little bit and cutting a couple small corners, knowing that I'm going to come back and do it better in about 2-3 days. What the fuck just fell? Damn it. Okay, anyway, I'm cutting a couple corners, yada yada. But I am happy I got this mount. This is the throttle body like support bracket or whatever, and this was broken when I first got the car. So I went to the junkyard, just borrowed it off another vehicle, and cool, came out, and I got it. There it goes. I think it was off a GS300. Anyway, it had a 2JZ either way, but that was lucky. Now the question is, what fell? Okay, so the last clip that you just saw was actually recorded a few months ago, and the car's been running. Actually, I got it running that night, and I drove it to a meet not even 5 minutes after starting it for the first time in months. So I've been daily driving it for a while. I've gotten most of everything back together, and I gotta say, it does look really good, and I'm kind of loving just how well everything turned out. The engine's been reliable, but there's been a couple small issues. Number one being that the last owner said that he replaced the O2 sensors, and the O2 sensors are new, but I don't think he replaced them with the right part number, or I think he drove it with the misfire for enough of a distance to destroy the O2 sensors, because all 4 of my O2 sensors are reading wrong, and this car is running super rich and burning a lot of fuel. For that reason, I have not been daily driving it that much. I've been using my mom's car, Ford Escape Hybrid, which gets 35 miles to gallon in the city, and this thing gets maybe about 8. But the car itself has been reliable. It's been a super great runner. I've done some work to it. I've put an exhaust on it and put some wheels on it. Actually, since the time that I've gotten this thing running, we've lost Duke's best friend, Misty. R.I.P. Misty. She's my dog for 14 years. We got them 2 together, and yeah. But yeah, the motor's been running pretty good. I've done exhaust to the car, I've done some wheels, I've done some other stuff. That's going to be a separate video because this video is already too long as it is. This car is still most definitely work in progress. I gotta sort the wiring out for the steering and a bunch of other stuff. But currently the way the car is right now is the product of a lot of cold, lonely working nights just to get it to start and run well. And here's what it sounds like. I'll do a more in-depth video on the exhaust and everything and the wheels later. But this is the product of me working on my own on Christmas, on New Year's Eve, on every holiday, just focusing on this car, and it runs really well. But it does smell very strongly of fuel and a couple other stuff, and I'm getting there. I'm making progress on this car. But yeah, this is it. This is the product of hard work. This is the product of every holiday being spent alone for the past few months. And it's good. It's getting there. I'm proud of this car. I'm gonna work on this car, I'm gonna build my drift Mustang, and I'm gonna build my track Honda and all that stuff.